Hello, SPED class. My name is Nyame Gum. Hi, Dr. Riley. I love you so much. Oh my goodness. I hope everyone's having a great day. Okay, so my video presentation for the final exam is about curriculum-based assessments. Being a teacher, I love speaking about curriculum-based assessments because I feel like they don't get as much love as the other assessments that psychologists have to do. So we know psychologists have all the fun tests and they get to enjoy and diagnose, but teachers, we have fun, cool stuff too, like curriculum-based testing to see where our students' lives based on the curriculum and the standards given to us by the New York State government. So for the first curriculum-based test that I would like to talk about, probably the only one, the first one. I'm going to talk about others briefly, but this is the main one I like to talk about. The main one I like to talk about, I was just introduced to this test this year, is called F&P test. The F&P test is a fluency test for for students, mainly in lower grades to test their reading levels and comprehension and understanding. So when they take these F&P tests, they're reading consistently in a book, and after they read for about like a minute, they'll be asked to stop and they'll be asked questions to see what students understood or what students comprehended from the reading. One thing that I love about this reading test, you literally get to mark each word that the student reads. If the student reads it correctly, you mark it right. But students are also given chances to correct themselves. So say, for example, a student is reading construction of norm refrain, and they say reference. So once they say reference and they saying it correctly, you go ahead and give them that mark and they get it correctly. So that's pretty cool because it allows the student to get a chance to say it correctly versus them just getting marked wrong because they're not saying it correctly. But it does matter. It does matter how soon they're saying it, because it's supposed to go fluently. They're supposed to read fluently, and that's what gives them the best score if they're reading fluently. Because if they're having a hard time and they're reading and they're stopped every single time, that could be an indicator of a learning disability. Not for us to diagnose, but for us to okay, maybe this might be an issue that we could rise to the team as a difficulty for the student because they're not reading as fluently and they're having to stop and take their time to sound it out. That could show phonetic disconnections and show that this student might need some extra support to get them to the reading levels that they're supposed to get to. So the F&P allows that to take place. So the student reads, once they're done reading the section that they're supposed to read, they're asked questions. Now, like I stated before, if they were having repeated interruptions, they might not understand or comprehend a lot from the reading because they were too focused trying to sound out and read the actual words. So after they're done reading, they're asked these questions and they're supposed to restate what they learned from it. The who, what, when, where, why. They're supposed to restate and explain that with evidence from the text to support their answers. So once that's being done, you're grading, as a teacher, you're grading their responses, you're grading their fluency levels, and you're marking it up. Now, I like this form of testing, me personally, because I feel like all teachers, no matter the subject, needs to know the students' reading levels, because reading is used throughout every subject. So if you don't know the student's reading level, how can you know which student is secretly struggling in your class and which students are just floating by? You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know who's the actual reader, reading strong, and who's the one that's actually struggling without these test results. So they're great for data-driven results. My only issue, these tests could be possibly biased. They could definitely be possibly biased because, say, for example, you're the teacher, you're testing your students. What if you're testing your own class? You're like, oh, I know the student can read. I knew they could have did better. You're probably marking it wrong. That's a bias. Or say, for example, hey, you're a moral teacher. You're not going by that route. And the student maybe is an ELL learner. They have trouble pronouncing words in English. Me, being an ELL student myself, I can comprehend a word, but when I read it, sometimes I might mispronounce it. And now I'm being marked because I mispronounced the word correctly. Like just now, see? I'm saying words incorrectly. But that doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not comprehending, but I'm just probably stating it incorrectly because I'm talking so fast and I have a lot of languages in my mind. So I feel like at times that test could be possibly biased. So it might not be as reliable, but it is valid. It is testing what it's supposed to test, which is reading comprehension. But as far as is it reliable, I'm not too sure. But I like this form of testing. There's other forms of testing, like at our school, they give benchmark testing. That's curriculum based, meaning they test what students learn throughout the whole school year based on the curriculum and the standards. I feel like that's reliable because it's based on what you learn throughout the whole year. So you should put something down on there that you learn. It's not always the best. Yes, mommy. Yes, we're gonna get ice cream soon. But it's not the best test for like students with learning disabilities or students who require accommodations, because they're not always supported. I've noticed students who actually know the material, but when it comes time taking a test, they're not as great test takers. So it doesn't really show what they know. So I love this class because it makes me think about the different forms of assessments. And it also made me have deep thoughts about whether tests are actually reliable or not. I also love the part when we discussed about different types of intelligences. I don't feel like tests. I feel like tests test what they're supposed to test. Like validity. See, here I am. Validity. I feel like tests test what they're supposed to test. I like that. I think that's accurate. But should students be punished based off their results? No. I feel like every student learns differently and every student will display that knowledge differently. So that is my 411 on curriculum-based testing, based on the curriculum-based testing that I personally did this past school year. I hope I learned more, and I know I will learn more because I love to learn, but I hope to gain more insight on this throughout this new upcoming school year that could best support my students in this education field. Thank you so much, Dr. Riley. You are the best. Thank you. Have a great day.